Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Scott Ryder. This is probably the single most exciting interview I've ever done. I'm with Brian Grant, my buddy from the state of Ohio.
Buckeyes.
But he's not a Buckeye, but I can't blame him for that. So Brian, I've done a little bit of research on you. And my first question is, do you ever crave Crunch Berries?
Do I ever crave Crunch Berries? Absolutely. And let me tell you something. I lived on Crunch Berry
I know
cereal
you did.
my first 9 months after I retired because I was in a deep state of depression.
Yeah.
So that was my only food.
You know, I was just talking to John Lear. He's the CEO of the Parkinson's Foundation, and I was telling him that sometimes one of the more frustrating things for me with PD is that people see my tremor, but man, there's so much that goes on inside of my body, but there's so much that goes on inside that nobody would ever see, never know, like multitasking. I mean, can you relate to any of that?
For me, it's the things that they can see that bother me. You know, it's being an athlete like yourself.
Past tense.
For both of us. But it's the things that they can see. Only thing when I think about the things they can't see, that is really just kind of between me and myself and I and my closest.
Yeah.
Like, as you know, it's hard enough to deal with a tremor. Like right now, we're both kind of like right there. But when the meds go off,
Yeah.
gotta go find a quiet space.
You know, what's kind of stinking for me right now, my meds, their duration that they work is shortening and shortening. And you start thinking, man, what am I going to have to up my dosage? And I can only go a certain distance, right?
Yeah.
It kind of stinks. Did you ever desire to be a Buckeye?
I can't say that I did because, you know, when I was in high school, I never thought I was going to be able to play basketball, let alone go to college.
Yeah.
And when it started to become something that could actually really happen, I think I was more focused on University of Cincinnati or Xavier because it was closer to home and I knew Cincinnati. But it was an environment where if you wanted to excel or pass your classes, they would provide every tool that you needed, like tutors, you know, after school studies, things like that. So I definitely picked the right spot. I wanted to graduate and did graduate.
I was just going to ask you, in your school, did you take education serious? It sounds like you did. You graduated. That's a big deal.
At Xavier, you had to take it serious because if you failed, you were gone.
You're not playing,
If you
yeah.
failed out, you were gone. It was it. You knew that.
That's interesting. How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 36. I was 36 and I had been retired 2 years.
So I was 46. And at first, I thought I could hide it, you know, like I'd sit on my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever do any things like that? Any hiding techniques?
If I can just put it behind my back and put some pressure on it, that usually will calm it down for a little bit.
Can you name one way that you think Parkinson's has made you a better person?
Definitely the one way is being appreciative of everything that I have or that's in my life, like my kids. And not that I took any of those things for granted, but when I was diagnosed and I realized that I had this disorder or disease, all those things really came to life. I think I was kind of cruising a little bit because I was in the league and it was an excuse to have to go to bed early and not watch TV with the kids and do things like that. But now I was retired, I found out I have Parkinson's, and I just started doing a lot of things with them.
I was in the airport in Seattle, Washington one day. I was going to see my son. I don't think I was in Portland. I don't know, I can't remember. I have Parkinson's, so I can't remember half of my life. But I got off the airplane and I was having a bad day, and an agent from the airlines came up and said, "Sir, can I help you?" I said, "No, I'm good," but I was having a hard time walking.
Mm-hmm.
And she came up to me a little bit later and she said, "Sir, can I help you?" And so I got in a wheelchair. Now I took my iPhone and I filmed myself being pushed through the airport with the wheelchair because I didn't really care. But have you ever been kind of in an uncomfortable situation where you had to ask somebody for help?
All the time. And I think my biggest problem is when I really need that help, sometimes I don't ask, because I'm thinking more so my kids, my older kids that are around, I don't know about you, but I start to feel like I don't want to burden them.
Oh, totally.
Not at this point, because there's going to come a time where I really need them.
Yeah.
And that's when the burden will just be constant. But I don't like burdening them with any new things that come up. And then they get upset because they're like, "We didn't know. Why aren't you talking to us?"
You know what, I wanted to do this interview to learn more about you, which I still do, but I'm going to give you some encouragement now, man. I have this thing that people want to help. They don't mind helping. Our family loves us so much. I think it makes him more upset when we don't ask him for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really fascinating. Hey, can you relate to this? There's sometimes that I just let my trimmer go. I just let it, you know what I mean? I just, like right now, I'm trying to hold it back.
Mhm.
Do you ever just let it fly?
I do. I mean, it's usually when it's just me by myself or with the kids or something. But it feels good to kind of let go and not have to really try to focus on.
Exactly. Isn't that kind of freeing like?
It is, because I mean the anxiety that comes with it for me, ends up being far worse than the damn trimmer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really well said. Let's see, when you were at Xavier, you guys, what was the name of the conference you guys were in?
MCC.
Yeah, I knew that, the MCC. So I was in the Big Ten. And in the Big Ten every year, believe it or not, I ran on the 4x400 meters and I ran the 800 meters. So there'd be an indoor championship, there'd be an outdoor championship. So I had, 16 opportunities to be the Big Ten champion. But Brian, I finished second 5 times. 5 stinking times. And so I like to say, when you finish second, you have a choice. You can quit or get up off the track and try to get better. And my reason for telling that story is, as I look back at my life, I feel like some of the things I dealt with athletically prepared me for the fight today, what I call my biggest race, the fight against PD. I know I'd love to read about you banging up against Karl Malone and other people, but can you relate to that? Do you think that your athletic career helped you prepare for the fight against Parkinson's disease?
I do, and just really having to, being in the league, you're always having to overcome something, and there's always a young guy coming for you, for your job. And so you gotta always stay the course, even if things get bad, you have a few bad games, things like that. I look at Parkinson's sort of in the same sense, because right now, as it stands, there is no cure for Parkinson's. So therefore, I know this is something that is eventually going to win. But it's a better quality of life for me if I continue to fight it versus letting go and
Giving
then,
up.
now 50 more symptoms start popping up.
Yeah.
So definitely my work ethic and drive to succeed and not be taken over has carried over into my fight with Parkinson's.
Was there one person in your athletic career, like maybe for the Lakers or whoever, that you felt instilled work ethic in you more than anybody else?
Mitch Richmond.
Really?
Yeah, he was an all-star in Sacramento when I played there.
Was he older than you?
Yeah.
So what, he kind of took you under his wing?
Not one that he took me under his wing. I just watched. Like we come to practice, everybody else would be sitting around and then go to the court. He'd be in the cold tank, then jumping in the hot, jacuzzi, back to the cold tank.
All shriveled up, huh?
Yeah, and stretching his feet and things like that. And I'm like, why is he doing that? And then as I got older, I realized.
Do you remember ever thinking about when you're in the league, thinking, man, I'm the old guy now, I'm not the young guy coming in anymore? Did you ever have that feeling?
After about 6 years,
Really?
I started feeling like that. My last 2 years is when I knew that was true.
But I bet you PD was creeping in those last 2 years.
It was, it was like in my presentation, I'm playing one-on-one against Kurt Thomas in Phoenix, and I blew by him and went to dunk, and I kind of got hung. When I turned around, he was looking at me like,
dude, what's up, huh?
I go, what? He goes, what'd you just do? That looked like somebody shot you. I go, nah, I'm feeling a little uncoordinated on jumping off my left leg. He goes, you might want to get that checked, man. That didn't look good.
This is all during the game?
Now, this was during one-on-one
okay.
after practice with
I
Kurt
see.
Thomas. And I went in, spoke to him, and they told me, listen, this is your 12th year in the league.
You're just getting old,
Yeah,
right?
you're just getting old. And I said, well, what about this little twitch over here in my wrist, on my skin? You know how you guys get twitches and stuff. I was like, all right. So I didn't think anything of it.
So for me, my toe started curling when I was running. It took like 5 years to figure it out. I'll never forget, I went to an orthopedic toe specialist, and you know what he said, Brian? He said, hey, find another way to exercise. That was his advice.
What?
I just know it hurts like heck and I can't walk. Hey, this isn't on my list, but I got to ask you, who was the best trash talker you ever played against? If you want to say, you don't have to say. Or was it you?
No, it
Because
wasn't me.
you didn't talk trash, did you?
Nah.
That's what I thought.
Nah,
I think he's lying a little.
Barkley could talk some good trash and back it up.
After you're diagnosed, who was the first person you told?
First person I told was my ex-wife.
What'd she say?
Just wanting to know what I plan on doing about it. Is there medications I can take? If I need her help, just ask. And I'm like, you're my wife. I didn't think I'd need to ask anyway, but she was the first person I told.
Have you ever thought about this? You earned your money the hard way. You played in the league, man. That's a gift. But I've often thought about, what about people that have Parkinson's that don't have the means to get good help?
I think about that a lot, especially when I was first diagnosed and I was going to Rising Health, which is all naturopathic medicine. The doctor was an MD as well as a naturopathic doctor, so he could prescribe things. And after 3 months, I was taking 4 packs of pills that had 20 plus pills on them. I was doing that 4 times a day. And after the first week, I couldn't do it anymore because just to feel those things going down my throat, I started throwing them up.
Are they expensive?
They were really expensive. I was coming out of pocket like $3,500 a month. And I'm like, I'm lucky I can afford this, but how is everyone else affording
Yeah,
it?
some people can't.
Yeah.
I keep saying to John Lear, but I told John Lear earlier, and you know this, there's lots of organizations that we could hitch our wagon to in this fight. And but I'm really tied to the Parkinson's Foundation because I feel like more than anybody, they do some research, but the cold hard truth is you and I ain't going to get no better. So I want to make life the best I can now, and I feel like the Parkinson's Foundation does the best at putting money back in the community. I know you have an incredible organization that does the same.
I didn't know much about the Parkinson's Foundation until we started talking about teaming up to do a couple of things.
Yeah.
The one thing I was very impressed with was I remember when I was diagnosed, I said, what would be good if there was like a card or a packet or something.
The Aware and Care Kit?
Yeah.
The thing's awesome, isn't it?
If I'd have got that when I was diagnosed, I could have saved myself a whole lot of.
Do you have a daily exercise regimen that you do?
I do. I've been traveling a lot over the past couple months, man, and I kind of let it go a little bit. Not that I'm not exercising, but
Sure.
I kind of tapered back, and then the nutritional side of it went up as the exercise went down. So
I got it.
today when I speak, I'll be sure to let everybody know that exercise and nutrition are key, but
They are.
we're gonna have setbacks here and there.
Yeah, it doesn't go perfect.
Right, you get knocked off the horse, get back up on it.
For me, my personal faith plays a big role in my fight against Parkinson's. Can you relate to that at all?
I'm a believer, for sure.
Boom. Could you
I'm
imagine, man, the battle if you weren't thinking? See, I think about that one day. I know that my body's going to be at rest.
That's what got me through retiring, depression, divorce, and there was one more, depression.
We have
Well, those
Parkinson's.
those are
man.
big, yeah.
It'll come back to us. Don't worry.
That's what it was. I got diagnosed with Parkinson's. Do you
Hey,
have,
go
can I
ahead.
ask
No,
you a
you
question
can ask
real
me
quick?
anything you want. Go.
Do you have short-term memory loss?
Yes, my record is I've lost my house keys 7 times in one day.
I mean, I literally will forget things like that. And a couple of the medications that I take actually, one of the side effects is short-term memory loss. And it's crazy when
It's
you
brutal.
can't remember. Yeah.
Like I covered for it yesterday. There's a girl here named Jessica, and I called her Jennifer. I said, yeah, I was just joking. I knew her name was Jessica. No, I didn't.
No.
That's brutal, isn't it?
I've lost my car 3 times, too.
Your car?
Yeah. I park downtown, walk around the corner, get a coffee with a buddy, and then come
Forget
back
where you
and like,
parked?
where's it at? It's not over here. It's not over there. Where's it at?
I've done something similar. I bought one of those things to put on my keychain
Mhm.
that I can track it on my cell phone, tile, but there's only one problem. When I lose my cell phone, I can't find my dang keychain, so it's frustrating. Any particular athlete that you really admired as a kid?
I wasn't much into sports. I was.
Okay.
If you talk to me about movies, I can tell you everything. But
Well, what was your favorite movie?
of course, Star Wars when it came out, and American Werewolf in London.
I've never seen Star Wars or what's that other thing called Star Trek?
Never seen either one?
I don't know the difference between the two, man.
Man, you're
I
missing
know.
out.
We got to hook up sometime. Greatest single piece of advice anybody ever gave you?
Probably Michael J. Fox telling me that it's going to be a tough road for me because I need to lose the vanity. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he goes, as athletes and actors, we're always trying to make sure our bodies are at its best.
Yeah.
But now things are going to start getting stripped away from you. And and to use that vanity, it's going to be a tough process or a tough road.
So you have 6 kids?
I have 8 kids.
8 kids?
That's
So if they were
6.
all gathered here in this room right now, and they were listening to you, I know the chances of that being, so if they're like my kids, and you had their full attention, you said, listen, I'm going to give you guys one piece of advice about life. What would you tell them?
That life is short. Enjoy it, but don't just enjoy it for yourself. Help others along the way. Because I don't know about you, until I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, I thought I was going to live forever. Like, something's going to come out that's going to extend my life to 100, and then they'll come out with something new or whatever.
Sure.
But, you know, when I got diagnosed, that dream was gone.
No. Well, that sounds like good advice, though. Hey, sometimes for just a minute, and probably less than a minute, I forget that I have Parkinson's. Has that ever happened to you?
All the time.
Yeah, it's kind of a good feeling for just a second.
It is, because you're just sitting there, you're relaxed, there's no tremor. And
Yeah. Do you have any sense of smell?
yeah, I can smell. Matter of fact,
Seriously?
yeah, I don't have any problem with smell. As a matter of fact, I was at Laurie Mischley's Parkinson's College,
Okay.
and I told him I think I have a heightened sense of smell and taste.
Really?
And then they did a sniff test, and I was a little below average.
Prior to being diagnosed with Parkinson's, would you know anything about it?
The only thing I knew about Parkinson's was that Muhammad Ali had it and Michael J. Fox.
Same with me.
I can remember one time a guy walked into a bakery that I was in when I was in Miami. And I remember just looking at his hand shaking. I was like, damn, why is his hand shaking like that? And for me, one of the things that I get anxiety about and fear is dyskinesias. Because, you know, I'm 6'9". That's,
Yeah, what I thought of as Parkinson's disease was this. You know, I thought everybody did that. I didn't understand dyskinesia.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even the disease.
No, it's from
Over-medicated.
medication, yeah. If somebody walked in this room right now and they were newly diagnosed, what's one piece of advice Brian Grant would give them?
I know you just been diagnosed with this disease. 2 things. 1, you're not alone. And 2, it could have been something where we wouldn't have the opportunity to talk much about it, because there's a lot of people in my life right now who are suffering from cancer or ALS.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful to God that I'm able to have something and still have a life.
I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you, not telling you about me, but I've had colon cancer. I had half my colon cut out. That bothered me more than Parkinson's disease, because it's not anything you can see, you know? It's kind of
Right.
weird. You can't feel it.
You couldn't feel it when you had it?
No, I'd had a colonoscopy, just a routine colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And you know, when you have a test and you get the call, that's bad. You know what I mean? If you have a test and you get the letter in the mail,
It's like, oh, I'm in the clear.
it's all good news, right? I got the call and I knew I was in deep doo-doo. Hey, is there anything that you thought this guy from Ohio, Scott Ryder, should have asked you? You're sitting there thinking, man, this dude should have asked me about this, and he didn't.
Maybe, do you miss playing? I do miss playing sometimes.
What about it specifically? The camaraderie, the guys?
The camaraderie, and I knew I wasn't the best player on the court.
Maybe
and
you're
the
the,
talent.
what I hear, you're the hardest worker.
That's the one thing I could control was my effort.
Yeah.
And that took me farther than anything, just all out effort, because coaches, you can't teach that.
Yeah,
You either
yeah.
have it or you don't.
Do you ever talk to any fans from the stand, from the court?
Sometimes I do. In Sacramento, like there was this little girl. She had to be like 10 or 11, and she would come to the arena and she would sit there on this rail and go, Brian, 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 until I come over there and shake her hand and sign something for her.
That was nice.
Yeah.
At least she wasn't really heckling. She just wanted your attention.
No.
That's funny. Well, man, it's been great visiting with you. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you're doing for people with Parkinson's.
And let's have a conversation about doing something maybe.
Yeah, let's do it. I'd love to hook up with you. I speak all over the nation. I got a whole shtick that I think's pretty impactful. I figured might as well make something positive out of something negative, you know?
You're a tough act to follow. Hopefully I can do
No,
okay.
I know. Are you gonna do your domino? Is that today, domino?
No, it's
Oh, we got a new one.
it's I like to look at it as who knew. You know, I don't know about you or anyone in here, but so many things happened in my life that you can ask 10 people around me, and they'll be like, I didn't know. I mean, who knew?
Wasn't there a teacher in your background that had an impact in your life?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
I got kicked off the team my junior year.
High school?
I was out partying all during the school year, and
So you were partying, you got booted off the team.
yeah. So I'm booted off the team, and then we just finished my junior year. I barely passed, and my mom and I were driving, and a UC commercial came on the radio, and so when it went off, I looked at her and said, I think I might go to college. She slammed on the brakes, boom! I hit the windshield, and I was like, Mom. She goes, what'd you just say? I go, Mom. She goes, no, before that. I go, then I'm going to college. And she looked me in the eye and said, you ain't going to college.
Your
You're
mom
not
said
going to
that.
do anything. And
Sorry.
then she put the car in drive and drove off. So from that point on, I was like, I'm graduating high school. I don't know if I'm going to college, but I'm definitely going to graduate high school. And so my senior year comes around. I grow all summer. I've just been killing it all through Brown County and Claremont County. And
Very rural counties, by the way.
well, we get a new coach. He tells me, listen, I don't care about your past. It's what we do from here. And I said, I'll be ready. Second week of school, I get in a fight because a kid used a racial slur towards me. And they wanted to expel me, but my mom was like, I'll call the NAACP if you expel him. This kid started with my son. So anyway, they gave me 5 days suspension. You get 5 zeros. So I'm cramming. And I have to pass my American history test, and I can only miss one. So I took the test, and I knew I had to miss more than one. Next day I come in, and he tells me to sit down, dismisses the class. I go up, I see 4 answers checked in red, but pencil, some type of pencil. He goes, what is this? And I go, I don't know, I was cramming. And he goes, son, you can't go around fighting everybody who calls you something you don't want to be called, or you'll be fighting every day of your life. And I go, yep. And he goes, in 19 such and such, what happened is multiple choice. And I put D, and I go, C? He said, why didn't you put that? Went down, got all except one correct.
That's awesome.
He gave me my paper, and he goes, son, sometimes people are given second opportunities. You just got yours. I hope you do something with it. If he doesn't do that, none of this happens.
Forever, man.
Nothing. You know?
Have you ever thought about this? Remember what your mom said when you banged your head against the windshield? Why is it some people in life overcome those situations, but then some people, man, that haunts them for the rest of their life, and they never become anything? What's the difference?
I don't know. I love my mom, and, you know, me and my dad at that time didn't get along that often. And so for her to say it to me, I mean, anybody else could have said it, and I'd have probably ended up being like, whatever. But when she said it, it was like, I got to prove her wrong.
I was gonna say that's cool, but that's interesting. Last thing, I bought this book the other day, and I haven't read it, and I can't remember the guy's name. He was a catcher, Major League Baseball catcher, right? No, pitcher. Somebody you got a connection with.
Who, me?
Yeah, I might have it in my book bag.
He played for the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, that's him. But
Ben Petrie.
Yeah.
Yes. Finally.
Boom.
Remember
2 minds together. We made it. How'd you get connected with him?
When I moved back to Portland, he was at a Parkinson's Resources of Oregon event.
Okay.
And I saw him, and the first support group I went to was near a hospital. I was 30-something. Next oldest person, the youngest person was 78. So they're going around talking about all their problems, and I'm like,
that's what I'm going to end up like, right?
Well, not even that. I mean, they're talking about things that probably had nothing to do with Parkinson's too. So I was like scared the shit out of me, you know.
Sure.
But I ended up putting together a support group with people more my age in the young onset.
Young onset.
It's been great because we split up caregivers, patients, and then we come together to discuss it. And a lot of times, I think we don't realize how much our caregiver takes on.
Oh, dude.
I mean, it's just
it's almost worse for them.
Yeah,
I said yesterday, you know, my wife, when we stood up and took those vows, remember rich or poor, sickness and health? And you never think any of those things are really going to happen. Here we are. She helped me button this morning. She tied my shoes.
I can button right here, but these I
Oh,
can't.
I can't
button.
do those at all. Or can you do these very good? You know, the collar buttons?
Yeah, nah.
No. So I started this thing a while ago I called Just Ask. And what I mean by that is I look for people that maybe have disabilities. You know, I've never been shot down in this, Brian. I've gone up to people in wheelchairs and I said, man, I've got Parkinson's, and I realized everybody has a story. How'd you end up in the chair? Have you ever tried anything like that? I encourage you to do so, because here's what I learned from it. Two things is everybody's got a story, but they don't often get to tell their story. And most people want to tell you what's happened in their life. And you know what I learned? It takes the focus off me, because sometimes I feel sort of selfish. Do you ever feel selfish?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. See all these people running around worried about me,
I
and it's
know.
just like, you know, think about yourself.
Yeah. How many times did you say you'd been interviewed? Just ballpark. About Parkinson's.
Oh, about Parkinson's?
Yeah.
Quite a few. All this traveling, I'm not used to traveling, so I was in East Coast, West Coast, then I'm in the Midwest, 1 hour behind, and then here, 2 hours behind, back. You know.
You know, Brian, you know what my wife told me the other day? She said, Scott, she said, I know you want to make a difference, help people. She said, but you better cool it a little. It almost sounds like you need to cool it a little
I do.
too. Because
I
you
do.
know what? Your health's got to come first.
Yeah, and like the meds, like I was telling you, kind of plateauing
Yeah.
off, not working as well.
Well, I asked you how many times you've been interviewed because I don't know what you think, but I think this maybe has been the best interview you've ever had. I'm teasing you.
Well, thank you.
No, thanks, man, so much. It's great to get to know you, and I hope we do get to
Definitely.
connect sometime, somehow.
For sure.
I'll do anything I want to help you. So thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe because it's a $5 donation to the Parkinson's Foundation. This guy's amazing. I'm just going to use the word, he's a stud. So can I ask you to do one last thing, and you can
Sure.
say no. If I stand up, can you show me a box out technique?
I'll put you through the wall real quick.
Okay, I want to get through the wall. Andrew, are you ready for this? Okay, so if I'm Carl Malone, let's see, where's the basket? So right there's the basket. So I'm driving.
The proper way to box out a Carl Malone is come toward me.
So I got my.
Make contact first.
No, that's a foul right there, man.
No, you can make contact.
Okay, so I'm dribbling. I'm left-handed. I'm going up. What's going to happen? I got no chance. No shot.
But he's going to pump fake me and then.
So he's going to go like this?
Yeah.
All right. I love you like a brother,
All
man.
right, brother.
Thanks for all you do. Yeah.
You too.
Can I show you something I wear every day? You want one? You know what that stands for?
What to me?
I'll never quit.